Good afternoon. My name is Navjot Gill with the Live PLM Solution. I would like to welcome you on this edition of Lunchbyte. Today's topic is patterns. Now, as far as the agenda is concerned, we'll be covering different type of patterns. Example, rectangular pattern, circular pattern, fill pattern, pattern along the curves, and also we'll be defining some subtypes of fill patterns such as radial pattern, staggered pattern, and rectangular pattern. So, first of all, we'll be talking about rectangular patterns. As you can see on the top, there is a pattern group, and what I've done is I've arranged all my patterns inside my radial menu. So all those which you saw on the top menu are there on my radial menu. The first thing which we're going to talk about is rectangular pattern. For that, what I need to do is just select the feature, and now you'll see that I get a feedback with the lock button. So all I need to do is select the face. Now, by default, when I select this face, you'll see it's lining up the green edge. With the help of the hotkey N on my keyboard, I can rearrange the axis, and you'll see that most of the time, whenever you lock yourself down, you get this alert sign on while using pattern commands. The reason behind that is because of that lock button and the way it's lining up. So what I'm going to do is unlock myself and go back one step. So I'll select the pattern command, and now when I'm selecting locking myself down to the plane, you'll see this edge highlights. So that will determine the x-axis of my rectangular pattern. So now if I lock myself down, you'll see I don't get any alerts because this primary axis is aligning itself to the edge which gets highlighted when you lock yourself down to any plane. And one more thing you will notice here is that it defaults itself to 3x3 pattern. So any rectangular pattern, when you select a face, it will default to 3x3. And also you'll see this 96 by 120 millimeter, that's the dimension. So how Solid Edge calculates this dimension? Let me zoom in a little bit. And now you'll see that the feature has two dimensions on it. The one is 12 and the other is 15. The way Solid Edge calculates this X and Y dimensions is it multiplies the linear edge, outside edge of the feature by 8. So 12 8 is 96, that's why you see 96 on this side, and at the same time if you multiply 15 by 8, it gives you a value of 120. Now, how do I make changes? Either I can just hit Tab key on my keyboard and I can just enter the exact values, or I can just if I keep my cursor on any location, on the diagonal opposite location, I get feedbacks, these arrows. So now if I click, you'll see that I can make these edits. At the same time, if I keep my cursor on one of my instance, you'll see that I can change the vertical. If I want to change the vertical dimensions, or on the side, if I want to change the horizontal side, I just need to keep my cursor on the instance and move it towards left. So these are some of the ways you can change the dimension on your pattern before creating it or after creating it. So now I'll increase the instance by 5 by 5. All right. Now you'll see that what if I need more control? The way it's calculating dimension is looking at this origin of the steering wheel. So if I change the origin of the steering wheel to the outside point, you'll see now it's giving you dimension from the extreme left-hand edge. So that's how you can change. If you know dimensions from that edge, you can change the dimension afterwards. All right. So what if I have a feature on the top face? So what I'm going to do is just create a feature on the top face. Let me unlock myself. And we'll just sketch a circle on this top face. With the help of relationships, I can quickly snap this to the endpoint. All right, now by selecting the region inside this hole, I can just remove some material, and we want it through all and give it a direction. So the reason why I created this feature on the top face is I want to add this feature on the existing pattern. So the way you can do this is by just selecting the pattern command, and on this quick menu, what you can do is there's a tab here that says add to patterns. You can select this tab, and then you can select the feature which you just created, and you'll see that by doing this, you can quickly add the whole on all the pattern instances just by one click. So what if I want to make changes, want to increase some thickness of the feature? So what I do is just select the face, and then with the help of steering wheel, I can just move this down. So I can just give it a value here because I want to give it 2. That's how you can once you created your pattern, you can add and modify your features. So next type which we're going to talk about today is circular. So what I'm going to do is just open a port, and then we'll create a circle pattern. So in this case, we have this this cutout, circular cutout on the top face. So again, the workflow is very similar. I select the feature, then I select the command. In this case, I'm going to select circular pattern command, and then align the steering wheel to the center point. Now it gives me an option to put a count, and based on the counts, it will divide. This count will be divided from 360-degree angle. So in order to keep all the different angles same, so what I'll do is just change it to 9 or maybe 6. So right now the angle between instances is 60 degree because dividing by 360. What if I don't want this whole circle? I want these instances to line to a specific arc. What you can do is there's an option here where you can toggle from circle to arc or from arc to circle. So in this case, I can toggle, and then I can just enter a value for the angle value. And right now my instances are looking at 240, and the angle between them changes from 60 to 40. So similarly, you can just make it a little smaller or bigger. What if I want to suppress these instances? There's an option here on the top that says suppress instance. What you can do is just click on this option, and then you'll see this dots on each occurrence, and based on your clicks, you can click whatever instance you want to suppress, and then you can just suppress that instance. What if I want to unsuppress it? So what you can do is just select the pattern command again, and then on the same tab, you'll see there's a button here for reset. So if I want to reset, I can just click on reset, and it will show me the original state. At the same time, what I can do is I can select the dimension, and if I want to decrease the radius, what I can just enter the value, and as you can see that I can reduce the radius. Similarly, if I want to decrease the diameter of the hole of all instances, I can select the face, and it gives me an option to edit the diameter, and I can just enter the values which I want. So these are some of the ways with which you can modify and create your patterns. The third type which we will be discussing today is called fill pattern. And fill pattern was introduced in Solid Edge sequence technology in ST3. So what you do is you just select the feature, and then there's an option for fill. And now you'll see in this drop-down there are 3 types of fill patterns. By default, it snaps to rectangular pattern, rectangular fill pattern, and the other one is stagger and radial. So let's look at the rectangular pattern first. So what you can do is, as you hover your cursor on different regions, you'll see these regions highlights. So now whatever region I want this instance on, I can just highlight the region, and gives me options to enter values. So this will be my distance between instances. So I can enter 20, and can generate these patterns. So this was a fill option with rectangular. Let's take a look on other options. So what if you want something like this? Now this the pattern on this face, on the top face, is not a rectangular or circular pattern. So how do we create these type of patterns? So let me open a port. So in order to create that type of pattern, there is a special category called radial fill pattern. So all I need to do is select this feature, and then what I can do is select this radial fill option from the drop-down, and then just by selecting the top face, I can create a radial fill. Now there's an option for counts, how many counts I want, and these are like kind of branches, like the chords of the circle, which are passing through the diameter. So now here I can just type in the number I want. That would be the distance between different instances. In this case, I'll keep it 36 and 6. That's how you can create these type of radial fill patterns on the face. All right, let me open another part. There's another part of pattern, inside of fill pattern, there's another type that's called stagger fill. Let me open a part. So what if you want a pattern type, this type of pattern on the face, and this is not, again, this is not a radial, this is not a rectangle or circle. But these type of pattern, what you can do is, instead of the rectangle or the radial, what you can do is you can select the radial fill. So again, the process is very similar. What you do is select the feature, and then in your selection criteria, what you do is just in the drop down, you just select the stagger fill, and then select the face. It gives you two options. In this case, the options are angle and distance between the instance, and you can reduce the angle to make it little dense. And in this case, again, I'm just going to toggle it to 36. All right, so we just looked at rectangular pattern. We looked at the circular and fill patterns. So till now, what we have been doing is we have been creating the patterns on the planar faces. So what if you have a pattern, you want a pattern on not a planar face, but a ruled surface like this, a ruled solid. So you'll see that as a requirement of different type of patterns which we discussed earlier, as a requirement we need a planar face, but this doesn't have a planar face. So how do we create this? So what I'm going to do is just open this part, and this part has just one curve, and I model this curve with the help of this curve command inside of line. So it's not an arc, so it's a curve. So now in order to generate some a solid model, so what I did here is use extrude inside of surfacing, selected the sketch, and then extruded it to a dimension here. Now I want to add some thickness to it. So what I did, I just used thicken command inside of add group, and then selected the surface and gave it a thickness of 5 mm. All right. So now, in order to get a feature on this in this type of part, what we need to do is create a tangent plane. So what I did, I just created a tangent plane on this ruled surface, and then in order to get the feature on this ruled surface, I will just create a small sketch. In this case, we'll do a circle. We'll dimension it from the edges. All right. So now, just by clicking on the region, I can just remove some material. All right. So we have created one feature on this part. So we need to create a multiple features. So what type of pattern I'm going to use here? There's another type of pattern that's called pattern along the curve, and I'm going to use that type of pattern. Now for that, what I need what I need to do is select the feature first and then go inside my pattern along the curve. You'll see that I don't have any curve, so I don't need the feature on this edge. So I need to create a path for my in order to use this pattern along the curve. So there can be many number of ways where you can create this path. So what I did here, just selected the end surface, and with the help of copy and detach, I just moved a surface and snapped it to the middle point of the circle. So by doing that, what I did, I just created a surface that's passing through the circle or the hole. So let me show the body. Now this is we need a curve from the surface. There can be you can use either drive curve command, but here what I use here there's a command called intersection. So this command is inside of surfacing. What you can do is just select that command, select the body, these two surfaces, and it is automatically going to create an intersection curve. So you can use this command if you have two surfaces and you want to create a curve on the intersection. So at this point I'm going to hide all the surfaces and the body. And you'll see this curve coming up, and the shape of the curve is the shape of the surface which we just created. All right, let me bring back the design body. So now here on now the process is very similar. I'm going to select the feature, and then I have my curve. So I'm going to select this another type of pattern that's called pattern along the curve, and select this curve, the top curve, and give it a location. And this time I want a fill pattern. And I can give it a value of 125. So by doing that, I created a multiple instance of the feature on the left hand side. So I want this instance on the entire body. So I'm going to again use the same command, curve by pattern by curve, and select the end edge, give it a starting point. Again, use this fill command, and give it a value for the instances. So this is the workflow which I took in order to create this this pattern on this ruled surface. And there can be multiple ways of doing the same workflow. There is another workflow which is kind of, it takes less time. Let me delete this curve. So for that method, what I did, I just showed the front plane, front base reference plane, and with the help of this command, live section command, what you can do is you can create a live section, so you don't have to create the surface and then copy the surface. Now here I can just select this reference plane and it will create a live section of the part. Now if you want to move this live section, what you can do is just select this live section, and with the help of primary axis on the steering wheel, you can line this live section on the midpoint of that whole feature. Now if I zoom in, you'll see that it's creating a section of this hole, but again there's another line that's passing through it. So that line is due to the surface which we used at the beginning, so I'm going to just delete it. So now you'll see that my live section just has a section of this hole and not other surfaces which we created on our previous workflow. So now what we can do is, the workflow is very similar. Again, select the feature and then use pattern along the curve command in order to generate the pattern. So you can just select the top edge and then select the starting point, and in this case I want a fill pattern, and I can change it to full and give it a value. I can also create it on the other side, but just by selecting the pattern and creating another pattern along the curve. And this time my curve would be the edge on the left hand side. So this is a workflow. If you have rule surface, there can be multiple ways you can create these type of patterns, and that will all depend upon what you want and how you want. Now, suppose you have assembly. Now, do assemblies have pattern? Yes, assembly does have pattern, and in case of creating patterns inside of assemblies, what you will do is you need to have some parts. So what I'll do is I'll just open assembly here, and I'll use from my parts library, I'm going to use this part and line this bolt on this hole. So I just select the cylinder face and the two faces to line up. Now you'll see that this pattern group on the top of assembly, there is a pattern group. You can select this pattern, select the instance, select the path, select the part, and you can generate patterns on the base plate. So you don't have to use your assembly relationship tools multiple times to create this type of patterns. So once you have one lined up, you can use pattern command, and you can have multiple occurrences of the same part. So these are different type of pattern tools which we discussed today, and that's all I have for today. And there are a bunch of training classes coming up next month, and these are update training for existing users and fundamentals for new users, and there are some other classes such as surfacing and advanced technique rendering classes. And if you want more details about the agenda of these classes, you can go to our website, iplm.com/training. And again, if you guys have any questions, suggestions, comment, please email us. The recording of this video will be posted on YouTube channel. Again, thank you for your time. Bye.